We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
It's the Weiliotis podcast.
I like it.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Weiliotis podcast. Of course, it's still the month of October, so we're still talking horror movies. I'm, of course, your host, Tom Weiliotis, and with me, as always, is the wonderful Mikey Wheel. How you doing today, my friend?
What's going on? Pretty good. It's cold here, so I'm drinking a carrot ginger soup, and then I went to Trader Joe's today, and I'm drinking their a cider from there.
I love it.
It's crazy over here. Life of a 32-year-old. I haven't been at Trader Joe's since probably I moved from Colorado. There's one like 2 miles away, but I just haven't been and forgot how great that place is. So
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And you're currently only like 2 miles away, or?
Yeah, I used to live across from one out in Colorado, but I'm like, yeah, maybe 3 miles away. And I mean, they just always have such good seasonal stuff, so much pumpkin stuff. Their cider, their hard cider is really good. I like you can get one beer at a time. It's a good place. I got a 6-pack of their Henry Hotspur's hard pressed for cider. They used to have a spice one that was even better. But yeah, it's starting to get cold here. It's starting to be fall, but that also means Halloween. The houses are decorated in my neighborhood, which is really cool. And yeah, I think one night I might just drive around and see what they have out here.
I love
the neighborhoods.
I love checking out all the decorations, and of course, even out here in Nevada, a lot of people still have the spirit. So and actually, I passed a house yesterday that had one of those insane, like, I don't even know, it's like 15-foot like skeletons from Home Depot. Yeah. I know they put those out last year, and I know it was the source of a lot of memes for a while. But like, it's cool. Like they're massive.
I remember I think ABC or ABC Family, Freeform, they like every year always have a Christmas show where it's like who can decorate the craziest. And they'll go around the country and find people like it's their job year round to start decorating their house. And they've done a couple Halloween series as well. So it'll be like a 6-week TV show of like who can have the craziest Halloween decorations. And that's my dream. I would love that to be like on November 1st, like already start planning out like the next year and like get ahead of the curve.
Oh,
I love that stuff. I love going to like haunted houses growing up, and not even like haunted houses, just like in your neighborhood when like, somebody's garage would have creepy music and stuff. So I definitely want to be that kind of house.
Yeah, up. Just go all out. And I can remember years ago going to someone's house and like they had a long driveway and they took full advantage. Like they almost made like a little maze to actually get to the front to get your candy. So obviously they had the fog machine, they had like the webs, they had all pumpkins, and it was like it's my world. It's what's up.
I love Halloween, and of course we have to bring up our actual sponsors. Water.
Yes.
Quality
good old
H2O.
Water.
It's found in your body. It's found on about 70% of the world. It's found in wells, water. And also, we have nothing to do with Ray Liotta on this podcast. Unfortunately, maybe one day, but we are the Weiliotis podcast, and that's just our names. And I think soon we are going to be talking about Saints of Newark, which is a Ray Liotta movie. Took us less than 20 episodes to get into Ray Liotta movie territory. And then we have some big news that we'll bring up throughout this episode as well about an upcoming episode.
We got a lot of good stuff on the horizon for sure.
Yeah, but what do you want to kick it off with this week?
I don't know. You want to dig into some quick movie news, maybe see what's out there.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I don't have too much today, although I will say that there were a lot of trailers released in the past few days, one of which being the new Batman movie, just titled The Batman, which obviously is the new, has Robert Pattinson helming the suit and directed by Matt Reeves. We had a teaser come out, I don't know if it was last year or early this year, but it showed enough. It was really cool what we saw. And then this trailer is like a 2.5 minute thing, and it looks fantastic. Like, I think expectations have been super high for this. I think anytime they reboot any like major superhero, there's going to be a lot of anticipation for it. But this looks fantastic. This looks a lot different than most comic book movies. It looks a lot more like a detective story, honestly. You see a little bit more Paul Dano, not much. You actually see a lot more of the Penguin in this, and it's
Who
insane to me because it's
is Paul
Colin
Dano the
Farrell.
Riddler?
Paul Dano's the Riddler, and then
Okay.
Colin Farrell is the Penguin. He looks nothing like. It doesn't look anything like him. It's some of the
Yeah.
best makeup, and it doesn't even look like it's a ton of makeup either. It looks just like a different person, which is wild.
Yeah.
But no, you haven't seen it yet, right?
I have not watched. I cannot wait for this movie. I mean, Paul Dano and Robert Pattinson are two of the best indie actors of today. So I even though it's Matt Reeves who did like a lot of the Cloverfield Bad Robot stuff, and then also did the Planet of the Apes movies. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
good with big budget. He's good with Hollywood summer blockbusters. But with the cast of this, I still figure this is going to be an indie movie. It's going to be a smaller budget. They can get a big budget, but I don't see them needing it. Like you said, I feel this being a lot more of a detective origin kind of story, a lot less of the special effects and, grappling hook antics. I just figure this going to be just like a dark indie drama
In a
more than
lot of ways, I think it
superhero.
will be. Although it still looks pretty explosive. Like they showcase some pretty cool set pieces. There's like a chase scene with the Penguin that looks really cool. But there's just a lot of like beautiful shot. Like the one thing I love is that the trailer makes Gotham really come alive. Like Gotham
Oh,
looks
cool.
like this really lived in dark city. Super excited for it. Like
It's almost like Gotham is its own character if you really think about it.
I know, right?
We like to give tips and tricks on this podcast, and soon we're going to have a big director on who will give some tips and tricks. But one of my tips and tricks is if you're ever talking about a TV show or movie with people, always make it like the setting of it, like the city or the town or the school or the office. Always say, I almost feel like the school was its own character. Like it really personified itself, especially in the third act.
Yeah,
And
and honestly, that's a good thing to bring up for today's movie because we're talking Halloween Kills, of course, and in
Yep.
Haddonfield, Illinois, very much a character, very much a very specific place within this series. So we'll be getting into that soon. And then really, other than the Batman trailer, the only other bit of news I had is another trailer, and that is for Peacemaker, which is a new HBO TV show starring John Cena as Peacemaker. Obviously, he had his debut as that character in the recent Suicide Squad movie, which unfortunately didn't really do that well in theaters. I don't think it really clicked well with audiences. I have a feeling it's going to eventually. Maybe it'll have more of a cult status, or like, well, as much as you can have a cult status for like a $200 million movie, but like because I feel like I don't know. We talked about it extensively on our kind of return podcast a month ago, and how different it was from modern comic book fare, how excessively violent it was, how funny it was. And this show kind of looks like the same. It looks like very much an extension of that movie, but it's definitely more comedy. John Cena looks like he's having a lot of fun, and
This is his first starring role too. I mean, like starring. I'm
That's
excited for that.
That's a great point. And I say he looks awesome in it because I'll say something is the dude has great screen presence. I've never been like everything I've ever seen of him, I've never been blown away. Like he's been funny, but that's kind of the extent of it. Like
Yeah.
and then I kind of same thing with like The Rock. I feel like he picks a lot of easy projects, but
Yeah.
to me, this like I personally thought that his role as Peacemaker was one of his better ones. It just seemed like he really clicked into that character. And
He's
this one,
great in the Daddy's Home movies. I
oh,
love him
oh,
in
I
those
didn't even know he was in
movies.
those.
He's in the sequel and at the very end of the first one. Like in the first one, Mark Wahlberg is the new boyfriend and father figure to Will Ferrell's kid. And then at the very end, Mark Wahlberg goes to drop off his kid with his biological mom and the new boyfriend. It winds up being John Cena. So now like Mark
Oh.
Wahlberg is getting a taste of medicine, Will Ferrell's medicine. But they're very funny movies. And John Cena also has done the most Make-A-Wish Foundation granted the most wishes out of anybody like ever. I mean, he's just a super cool dude and just like he always surprises his fans just like The Rock, and it's just like seems one of those very down to earth people who you could say hi to in public.
Oh yeah.
Maybe don't, but I mean, don't take my
Yeah.
word for it. But
Well,
no,
if you can see him, of course, like.
yes.
Well, and I will say one
Yes.
thing, and I've brought this up probably so many times on the podcast that I did security for like 1 week when the Suicide Squad filmed in Atlanta, and at one point they were filming inside all day in this like cramped little like dark like club. So obviously all the actors want to get fresh air, and at one point John Cena came out Not in full costume, because it was a scene in the movie when they weren't in full costume in their actual uniform. But I remember at one point I was just looking at him, obviously because it's John Cena, and he looked at me like he like turned his head and he had like the John Cena look, like he like that serious like stoic face, and I just was like, oh, I'm not looking at him. I like turned away. I was like, no, I'm not looking at him. Like, but
Maybe
no,
he was looking at you the same way. He's like, isn't that the host of the Weiliotis podcast? That's not even a podcast quite yet. I don't think at that time.
at that point, no, wait, was it? No, this was like a year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd
And
be funny though.
and I do want to point out to our audience, Tom says that he was security on that movie for a week. He actually got arrested and kicked off for trying to tackle Idris Elba.
Yeah. I just love him so much. I just wanted to have one-on-one with him, but like,
you did briefly meet him though, right?
yeah, because I was at the crafty table where they have all the food for everybody, and they just brought out like sandwiches, and then not knowing, he came up right behind me, and he's like, oh, what they got here? They got some sandwiches, and I was like, at first I was like, oh, is this just some crew guy? I'm like, yeah, they got sandwiches, and I turn around, it's Idris Elba. I was like, oh, like okay,
you're in the office. I loved you in the office.
Oh yeah.
All right, this is the question. One of my friends used to work at a hotel in Boston, and he didn't know a lot of celebrities, which was a good thing for him because they would just come right up, and he wouldn't know like Taylor Swift or anybody. And that was like one he did know, but he had like a thing where he's like, I would get fired from my job if two people walked into the building. Like I would not keep my cool and I would ask for their picture. So I asked you that question, Tom. If two people, if like you were working on a film set and you didn't know the full cast, who two people would walk in where you would be like, oh, I'm definitely going to say hi at some point, even if I get fired from this job?
Oh, that's a good one. And I would say, okay, one person would probably be Bryan Cranston. Of course,
Okay.
if you listen to the show, I love my love for Breaking Bad.
You watch Breaking Bad?
Sometimes, I've perused it. No, but also like Malcolm in the Middle is also such an influential show for me. I grew up watching that, as a lot of kids who grew up in the early 2000s. And no, yeah, if he was on set, or if I just ran into him, it'd be hard not to say something or try to have a conversation with him. And then the second person, I don't know, man. The second person, maybe like Quentin Tarantino. I'm thinking of like a director too, because there's numerous directors who I'd love to just have full conversations with, but he's one that just his love for filmmaking is so infectious. Like every time he's just talking about anything, it could just be a single movie, he gets so into it, and it makes me want to talk about movies, and it makes me,
He would talk for like hours, but you would never get bored. You'd just be like, there's so much passion behind him too, which I like.
Yeah, he's he's such an eccentric person. So yeah, like I'd say those probably the two people who were thinking right off the bat. But what about you? Who would you pick?
The first one I'm going to say, not in order. The first one I'm going to say, we're going to lose a lot of listeners, all four of our listeners. James Cameron, I got to say it.
Nice.
Not even for Aliens. I have so many questions about Avatar. I have questions about Titanic. I mean, he has a submarine and goes down and visits the Titanic like when he wants to. That's his vacation.
Yeah.
Like that's what he does. You go camping, I go to the beach, which are also nice places to go on vacation.
Of course.
He gets in a submarine, is like, I'm gonna go check out the wreckage again. And his wife is probably like, James, I told you we had dinner with my parents tonight. And he's like, but it's the Titanic. And she's like, how many times can you see it? That's from we should make that a cartoon.
And she's like, all right, I packed you a meal, for you going like whoever knows how many fucking thousands of feet down into the ocean.
Here you go, hon. And if you can pick up another teacup from the wreckage. No, this is actually, I don't care. I don't care for a lot of history, so I don't remember a lot. I remember the stuff that I'm interested in. Titanic, I'm obsessed with. And
it's fascinating.
Going down to visit it is starting to get less and less like you can't do it much anymore because so many people are going down there that all of the rustle and bustle and that from the ships going down there, the submarines and boats, is deteriorating and ruining all of the kind of stuff that's left there. So
that makes sense. I wonder if Jake Paul will ever go down there. He'll do like a vlog.
Did he talk about that ever?
Thankfully, no. But but I'm sure he has the resources to probably do that at this point.
I know. And William Shatner's going to space. I'd much rather go see the Titanic.
I would too, honestly. I mean, honestly too. You know what's funny? I'd probably even be more scared to go that deep into the ocean than it would be to go to space.
Everybody says that, and I agree. It's scarier to go to like the bottom of the ocean with those fish with the lights on them than
Oh
to
yeah,
go in
angler
space.
fish, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
which are
and it's
crazy.
scary
Crazy
because the
looking fish.
pressure of both of them. Like you need specific equipment to be at the bottom of the ocean, just like you do in space.
Yeah.
It's physics. Everything is like if you're a square inch off in your helmet, I don't know, stuff like that. So
I mean, hell, they even train in water, like
Yeah.
for how it feels in the suit and everything. So
that's why I can't go to space. I can't do the spinny thing. I would never be able to go to space.
oh, that looks awful. Like that.
I'd be like, I'm good. I won't go to space. So that's my first one. I'm much more of I think a music guy than but I'm gonna stay on topic here of actors or directors or writers. Nat Faxon, who's
Nice.
in Friends from College, the movie Orange County. He's on The Conners. Won an Oscar with Jim Rash from Community for The Descendants.
Amazing movie.
They did Downhill. I'll just tell a quick story. I was at Sundance 2 years ago, and I had read a lot of the people who were going to be there, a lot of people, and I was like, oh, that'll be cool, that'll be cool, that'll be cool. Person I was with, we, said hi to a couple actors, and, didn't really, Sundance, you have to be kind of chill. But I mean, like, we said, like, hey, big fan, like, hey, nice to meet you. Are you here promoting something? We talked with people, and I knew Nat Faxon was there, and I knew that if I saw him, I was going to lose my shit. So we wound up outside of the Downhill premiere. So they were doing like the Q&A and the table and all that. So first off, we see the guy who played Gabe from The Office, Zach Wood, I think his name is. Got a picture with him.
Yes, Zach Wood.
Yeah, got a picture with him. Very, very nice guy. Then Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus get out and are like surrounded. But I'm like this far from Will Ferrell, and they're like surrounded by security. They head right into the building. Jim Rash and Nat Faxon get out, and I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment. Like 10 feet away, no security, and I just go, Jirash! And the person I was with was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, that was my one moment. He's definitely up there. I think Jordan Peele.
That's a great pick though, because I remember really learning about them back when I started watching Community like 10 years ago. And right around the same time, I saw The Descendants, and then that was a huge thing. Like, oh my god, the Dean won an Oscar. That was like a whole thing.
Dean.
Oh yeah, and so yeah, that's a cool pick. I like that.
I think this would be two of mine, but like not if anybody's listening to this podcast who represents these people, Tom and I wouldn't get like arrested. We would just be starstruck and be like, oh, it's so cool. I have questions.
Oh yeah, because I have too much experience now as a like my time as a guard. I so many people passed me. At one point, Amy Adams walked right by me and waved at me, and I was chill because at a certain point you're like, yeah, we're all just people, But sometimes you're just like, okay, like this person means a lot to me, and you got to say something, like.
Would you say she had a pretty timely arrival?
Get it.
I always confused her with Isla Fisher, so I was hoping that I got the right person there.
Oh yeah, you definitely did.
I love Arrival. I love showing people that movie. That movie is just like 10
Arrival's
fucking
fantastic.
movies in one. Yeah, I've been swearing tonight in this podcast. I'm passionate, man.
Hell yeah.
Passionate.
Fuck yeah. No. Yeah, what's his name? The most French name ever. Denis Villeneuve. He because he directed Arrival and
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno. But no, he directed Arrival, and that dude. I mean, he's directing the newest movie Dune, which comes out very soon, but also Blade Runner 2049, Sicario. Sicario might still be my favorite of his. Nate, we've talked about his movies before. I'm sure we'll do. It'd be kind of cool if we did an episode on Dune, even though we both don't really know much about the source material. But like,
I have no interest in Dune, like 0%.
Which is crazy.
Interest.
Well, I don't know, because to me, like I said, the big draw for me is the director. I'm seeing it a lot because of just the director, but also visually, it looks crazy. Like
I'd go see it in IMAX. Like if it's on a big enough screen and it's like almost deafening, I would love to go see Dune. But it's like not something I would care to go to if it was like at a normal movie theater.
Okay.
I love Oscar Isaac more than most people in this world. Rebecca Ferguson is great. Josh Brolin. I mean, it's a fantastic.
Oh yeah, David Bautista. And actually, and you haven't seen him in the trailer, but David Desmalchian is in it too, which is exciting. Apparently, he's like he's like the antagonist.
He's bad.
Yeah, he's like the antagonist with Dave Bautista, so that's a cool pairing.
Oh, I didn't know they were the bad guys. Okay, and then Zendaya's in it, of course.
So it's another. I feel like this year we've already had a lot of big ensemble casts. I'd say this probably for the Oscar season. This movie and Don't Look Up probably have the craziest ensembles.
Look Up, that was filmed in the town I'm living in right now, and the trailer's fantastic. New Adam McKay, very kind of political comedy.
Yeah, no, Adam McKay is good. I honestly, The Big Short is fantastic. One of my favorites from the last decade.
If he didn't do it, I would have had like no interest in it. Like it wasn't my kind of thing, but the plot was great. Or I mean, the cast was great, and Adam McKay did it. And speaking of Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, Gary Sanchez Productions, Succession came back last night, which means Tom, I have about 4 minutes to talk about Halloween Kills tonight because I just forgot until now. Wait, and also The Bachelorette starts tonight as well.
Oh well, we'll get into that stuff in a sec. But do you have any other film news you want to do that before we get?
So I
got to
watch The Batman. My news is more just going to be a couple of things that I just came across as far as like dates that I'm excited for. So well, first Antlers comes out at the end of this month. I think October 29th.
Dude, both of us, we've been waiting for this for years. Like
years. I mean, it was Old, Free Guy, The Suicide Squad, and Antlers. I've been waiting for the 4 of those. And Free Guy was great. Old was a movie that was made. The Suicide Squad was good.
Yeah.
So we're like 2 for 3 right now. I'm hoping Antlers. It looks.
I can't see Antlers being bad.
No,
like I really
Guillermo
can't.
del Toro produced. If he was on set for a day, it's gonna be.
Yeah,
fantastic.
he produced an awesome cast. Jesse Plemons, okay, Russell. Yeah. That kid looks fantastic too.
Yeah.
Visually.
And the trailer gives away the monster a little bit. So like you're gonna see it in the movie. And I think we were talking about this the other day. It reminded me a lot of that Netflix movie. Forget the name. It was huge like 2 years ago. The guys go out camping in the woods and they come across this monster.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the last one too.
Yeah, can't remember.
I forget the name of it.
So that's coming out. I just read that J.J. Abrams is going to be producing a new Superman project. We talked about Peacemaker, which is also super exciting because James Gunn has his wife in that show, who is also in the movie. And then Steve Agee is going to be like starring on that show as well. He's in the Sarah Silverman program, great stand-up comedian. He not only acted in front of the camera in the Suicide Squad, he was also the person in the shark prosthetic costume.
That's
as well,
right. I keep forgetting about that.
Voiced by Sly Stallone and done by Steve Agee, which is awesome. So Shazam. If you guys have not seen Shazam, we all know DC does not make a lot of great movies. Shazam came out a few years ago. One of those movies I didn't know what it was. It's basically Tom Hanks big as a superhero. This little boy wants to fight crime and becomes a superhero and then goes back to his best friend and they just get into a bunch of antics while saving the world. It is like pee your pants hilarious. Can't wait for the sequel.
It's good because to me that's a really unique, like, heartfelt superhero movie that DC really did knock out of the park. And it's so funny. And visually too, it's pretty great. There's a scene near the end, I think, where he gets back into his into the Shazam like costume or whatever, and he like jumps off a building and then like transforms into him and then flies off, and it's just a cool ass shot.
I can't wait to see this. I'm gonna revisit the original. Speaking of DC, so that's coming out June 2nd, 2023. Aquaman and the Last Kingdom slated for December 16th of next year. I love the first Aquaman, so like I think DC's doing some good stuff. The Flash trailer just came out November 4th, 2022.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Me either.
But that's the one that's gonna have Michael Keaton as old Batman, which is fucking awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I've been waiting to see how he's getting introduced. And then, so we talked about The Rock earlier, Black Adam, July 29, 2022. So those are just some big dates. I don't really have a lot of movie news. Try and think of what's, like we said, Bachelorette is coming out again today.
With that said, you want to jump right into anything recent watches, movies, TV show, music?
Yeah. So my stuff, music. I have music very much. I don't know if I talked about her last week. The Girl in Red. Did we talk about her?
I want to say yeah. Or you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. So I've been listening to her a lot. Of course, the new. Yeah, I've been listening to the same stuff that I'm listening to. The new Bare Naked Ladies, the new Brett Dennen music. Basically, just been listening to that. Churches has a new album out.
Oh, good album too.
I
don't think we've ever talked about Churches. I love Churches.
I've only been listening to their album from 2 albums ago. I want to try out the new one, but their album Love Is Dead from a few years ago is just like fantastic.
Yes, I love
and
that one.
the new John Mayer. That's my music. What do you have for music?
Well, one thing that's fascinating is I haven't been following it too much, but I just learned recently that they I think past last Friday they put out finally Faces, which is a Mac Miller album. They has never been available for streaming. It now is. It's on iTunes and Spotify. Really great album, or maybe mixtape. I don't know at this point what the difference is, but that's really good. Also, new Adele single, "Easy on Me,"
Yes,
which is fucking
yes.
beautiful. It's crazy because like my friend put it perfectly. It's like she's never been gone. She puts out a track, beautiful, epic, and it's like it just already sounds like a classic. Like it already sounds.
I haven't heard it. I've heard the teasers. Definitely check out Alicia Silverstone's Instagram or TikTok, Twitter, whatever you do. She posted a very funny video about like how to prepare yourself for listening to Adele. It's very, very funny.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because it seriously is. It's beautiful. Like
Speaking of old Batman movies, Alicia Silverstone. Um, yeah, that's great. Her and
oh
Chris
wait,
O'Donnell.
she's in
She's Batgirl, Batgirl.
yeah, right,
George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell.
Batman and Robin. She's in that one, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy. She is.
I'll
right?
always love the 90s Batmans. I'll love the 1950s Batman. I love every Batman.
They're all great,
Like,
honestly. Because
yeah.
the funny part is like the Batman Returns and Batman and Robin were kind of intentionally silly. Like they were meant to harken back to like the Adam West movies, but obviously, no, I don't think anybody wanted that at the time. People, I think, still wanted the series Batman, so obviously that didn't work too well.
Yeah, they're all so different. I think that's what I like about it. Like all the Spider-Mans. I love the new Spider-Man, and he's doing one more. Tom Holland. I think No Way Home is his last one, maybe. But you know, the Spider-Mans all kind of blend for me. Where Batman just seems like they're so different in terms of aesthetic and even like genre. Even genre, they're so different. I mean,
that's a great point.
it seemed like the 1990s Batmans with Tim Burton were like more of a play. Like you just feel like you were watching just like,
Batman came out 89 and then Batman Returns was like 91. Yeah, super like theatrical, super crazy, like weird, almost like because he infused a lot of like German expressionist like architecture and decor into it, so it has just its own very you're right, almost like stage like look to it. And then obviously Joel Schumacher's ones are like colorful, way over the top, harkening back to the Adam West ones. Nolan's are more like technical, realistic. So there's a Batman for everybody at this point, really.
I feel like Jim Carrey was like always addition. I mean, that was early-ish in Jim Carrey's career, those movies. I mean, he did Live in Color and stuff, but like he was the most perfect person for the Riddler. I feel like every single thing he did like leading up to that was his audition for the Riddler. I mean, he was I would have loved to see Robin Williams. Was he in any Batman movies?
I don't think so.
Oh wait, that's something we got to talk about.
Batman, I'm gonna kill you. He's the Riddler.
Have you ever been Batman when you're at the store and you're like, oh my god, I'm at the store, I'm a Batman. I think that's more Dane Cook than Robin Williams.
Yeah.
No, I have to bring this up. I don't know if you've seen this, Tom. There's an actor, I believe his name is Jamie Costa. I don't know too much about him, but he recently filmed this little bit. It's called a screen test, so I thought it was like an actual movie coming out. But Jamie Costa's Robin Williams impersonation leaves it's just like,
oh, I did see that.
Yeah, he did it like it came out the other day. It had 2 million views overnight, and it was basically, I didn't even know that this is what went down, but basically he's about to go out on stage from Mork and Mindy, and his wife comes in to tell him that John Belushi just died of a drug overdose, and she doesn't want him to die the same way. And it's just like the mannerisms and everything. I feel like it's going to be one of those Heath Ledger things. Nobody ever wants to see another Joker after Heath Ledger. And I feel like nobody's going to want to see a Robin Williams thing, and people are going to be like, you can't make but like this, if you watch it, it's just like the mannerisms, the voice.
And it's done very tastefully too. Like he hits it, like he goes far with it, but it still isn't like caricature. It actually is like a good ass performance of who Robin was.
It's brilliant and beautiful and extremely depressing. And I think that's what we would want out of a Robin Williams biopic, is like you would want the behind the scenes. We don't want to see him like, auditioning for Mrs. Doubtfire. We want to see, who he was behind the scenes, which was, if you've seen the documentaries, a very dark, sad person, and Yeah, I mean but definitely check it out. Just type in Robin. Type in Jamie Costa Robin screen test footage. It's phenomenal. But what have I been watching? I watched the new VHS the other day.
Oh,
I
I
saw
saw
the.
that. Nice.
Did you see it? Did you watch it?
No, not yet. It's
It's
on the watch list
oh
though.
yeah, we talked about this. It's free on Shutter. You can get Shutter for free for a week or a month. Listen to our last episode for that code because I don't remember it. The fourth one's cool. It's there's a couple very disturbing stories like always. Fucked up ending like always. The first two will always be my favorite. Or at least for now. The third one I didn't care for, but definitely check those out. I know a lot of people look at people. I have friends text me throughout the month of October and they're like, what do you have? What do you have for horror? I want to watch horror every night. The VHS movies I definitely put on there. That's all I've really watched for movies. TV shows, I'm really starting to like La Brea. There was a show that came out like 10 or 15 years ago called Terra Nova, where these people go back in time. The world is about to just die out, and these people go back in time to the prehistoric days to restart civilization and make sure to pass the message on to make sure we don't wind up in the same mess. And they basically, are in the, I guess, Cretaceous period with the dinosaurs. And La Brea is very similar to that, which that show got canceled way too soon. So I'm watching La Brea.
What is it on?
La Brea?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but I'll tell you this: it's like 4 episodes in. So I mean, it's super easy to catch up. Basically, in the opening scene, there's an earthquake in LA. The mom and son fall into the earthquake. The daughter gets away. And basically, I mean, I don't want to spoil it. They tell you in the first episode or two where they are, pretty much, but they fall down into this hole and they wake up in a prehistoric time. It's really cool. I really like that. I've been watching Goldberg's, been watching The Wonder Years, been watching a little bit of The Connors. They did a really good live episode, which Nat Faxon was in. What else have I been watching? I mean, I watch every show. Succession comes back tomorrow. I'm caught up on Billions. Damian Lewis will not be in the final season, unfortunately. But he's focusing on family, and that totally makes sense. I got to get caught up on The Walking Dead. I'm a few behind. Got to get caught up on Fear the Walking Dead. So I'll definitely be watching those. And then, just sports. I got to watch my Red Sox and my Patriots. You know how
you
I
have
am.
to. So I heard you have to now if you want to actually live in Massachusetts. Like they force you. Yeah.
I'm a diehard Noma fan. I'm watching Noma, and even though my Tom Brady moved down to be with the Bucks, if the Patriots win, I was rooting for them. If the Bucks win, then I was rooting for them. So I mean, my Bronkin Brady. You know what I'm saying? Gronkin Brady. That's a tongue twister right there.
Gronkin Brady.
Bronkin Brady.
Yep.
What about you? TV, movies? What have you been getting into?
So TV, I watched another episode of Dave, and I will absolutely be sticking with it because it's fantastic. It's super funny, like one of the funniest shows I've watched recently. And I also just like it's a really great balance of like really funny, almost like awkward humor and part musical in a way, and also part I don't know, it's like real. I feel like there's a lot of interactions. I truly feel that Dave is writing from the heart because a lot of what he talks about just seems too close to home, and like he's not willing to almost embarrass himself. There's a lot of self-deprecation in the show. So yeah, are you all caught up with it?
Oh, Dave, yeah. I was gonna say to you, I'm very confused how you just watched an episode of Dave. I watched season 2 in like 5 minutes, man.
Well, yeah, because they're short episodes, but I guess it's because I also just watch a lot of movies. So like, I don't know.
What? It's funny because how far are you in the first season?
Only 2 episodes. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. Yeah.
So it's funny to me that like to you the show's a comedy. That's what's funny is you're like it's a really funny show, and I'm over here just like just wait.
Yeah, you're like hold up.
it's a roller coaster. I mean, it's really one of those episodes. What did I watch? Oh, I've been watching this new old show, Champaign, Illinois. It's Adam Pauly and who's the guy in everything these days? Sam Richardson. It's the two of.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the two of them. It was a YouTube show in 2018. It just hit Hulu, and the two of them are basically like the posse of their best friend Jay Farrow, who's a rapper, and they've been his like backup guy for 15 years. And then Jay Farrow in the opening episode dies in a very, very bad accident, and it follows them trying to like get back on their feet. Like they've lived for the last 15 years with private jets and eating at 5-star Michelin restaurants, and now they have to like go back to their hometown. It's super super funny. But I say this, one of the episodes, one of them loses their verified mark on Twitter, and then the other one loses his at the end. But the episode opens up with this new woman, this new character, waking up. She shuts her alarm clock off. She goes to the office, and you find out that she's customer service for Twitter, and they're calling her trying to get their verified symbol back on. But the episode starts with her and ends with her. You never see her again in the whole show. That's what Dave does as well. Is there's just going to be some loops in Dave where you're like, where's Dave? Where has he been? Like,
Okay,
why am I
nice.
learning about like Dave's lawnmower for 3 episodes? That's not true. But
Let's go, because like I mean, so far every character in that show is awesome. Like they're all like super unique, funny.
Your next episode, if you've watched it by then, you're gonna fucking cry, man. Talking about the Gate episode.
Okay,
Season 1, the Gate episode is gonna. It's beautiful.
Hopefully by our next episode, I can maybe watch all of season 1 or something.
I'm jealous you're pacing yourself. I mean, I'm always jealous showing people shows and movies they've never seen, because I love to like watch them have that reaction. And I'm just like, damn it, I'll never be able to see Titanic again for the first time. Like you're watching Dave. I'm living vicariously through you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm just trying to think of another movie or show like that where it's like, damn, I wish I could watch this again for the first time. You know me, I'd probably always say Breaking Bad, but like, there's other examples for sure. But other than that, so movie-wise, I saw Lamb, which might not even be in theaters anymore, but Lamb was an A24 release.
It's already out of theaters?
Yeah, I saw it like a week ago.
It's only in for a week?
I mean, you might still find it, but like last time I checked, there was like 2 showings for it in one of my theaters. I doubt it's going to be there longer, but it was pretty good. The funny thing is, because like I've read this from like everybody, how this movie feels like it was intentionally made to be like an A24 movie. Because and it kind of is true. It's like it's kind of about nothing. Like it really takes it. It has like super slow pacing. It has shots of characters just looking out and thinking, and you know it's super dreary, but it's still pretty good. I liked it for what it was, and it's fascinating because it's all like it's really just about just these 2 farmers, and or I guess they mainly raise livestock, in this case lambs, and then one of them ends up being like a hybrid human lamb thing. So they take it in, and then all these like little problems start acting up. So I can't say the movie's devoid of any plot, because there is a lot going on, but again, it's a very like slow paced, almost like I said, like it's almost like exemplifies all these like indie quirks that you'd expect from like an A24 movie.
I'm glad you're not on the marketing team for this movie, because you lost me right off the bat. You're like, I saw Lamb, nothing happens in it. It's a super slow movie. But when I heard about it or watched the trailer, all I could think about was like, this is The Witch. Is it The Witch of 2021?
No, because it's not really a horror movie. I would say the biggest theme of it is probably dealing with like, again, I know I know the main girl's name, Naomi Rapace. She was a famous Swedish actor. She was obviously she's in the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. I don't know the other guy, but they raise, there's like certain like moral implications of like them raising this weird human animal hybrid. And then his brother comes at one point, and he's kind of appalled with it. And I don't want to spoil the ending. There's a pretty out there ending for sure. I only mention that right off the bat because it is like that's probably its fault. Where like at one point I think because it takes its time, and because there's such beautiful landscapes, there are just a lot of moments that are actually genuinely beautiful to watch. But other times it's almost like they kind of keep repeating certain motifs, or they're just kind of like hammering in the same notion of like, wow, isn't it really crazy that, you know, we're taking care of this little like lamb hybrid thing? And I don't know, but it was certainly a fun movie to watch. It looks beautiful, good acting all around. And
I'm gonna sign up for Rotten Tomatoes just so I can comment on it and be like, you didn't even like it. Stop being a sheep. You're just saying what everybody else said. I'm trying to think of a lamb pun. I don't really have much of a lamb pun.
Right.
Lamb chop. So
But
it's
no,
good. Is it worth like if I find it on TV? Is it worth just checking out for a couple bucks?
yeah, absolutely. I think it. Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, it's definitely not one of those movies I would like run out in theaters to see it, but it's definitely worth checking out.
The
And
graphics are good, the special effects, and like it looks pretty.
yeah, actually, special effects are fantastic for the most
Yeah.
part. The way they like, I feel like they tried their best to just use an actual lamb in it. So like you can so even when they do use CG, it's implemented really well.
Oh, cool.
And then other than that, I've just been watching literally Halloween movies to prepare for this episode. I watched the original again, which I do pretty much every year. I also watched Halloween 2, which I know isn't in canon with these movies, but I always found it interesting because that movie, much like Halloween Kills in a way, takes place immediately after the first one. So you can almost watch them as like one big movie. And then obviously I watched Halloween 2018, and that's pretty much all I've watched in the past week, I think.
It's a great segue because this movie came out and I texted Tom came out Thursday, I think, of last week. And I texted Tom and I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch the 2018 Halloween. I'll probably watch fuck it. I'm watching this one. I didn't go back and watch the other ones.
Yeah.
I was so excited for this movie. And segue into our main conversation, I was pretty disappointed in this movie.
Yeah, I know right off the bat you were texting me about it. And this should make for a good episode because we both think differently about it. We've talked about it already. I've agreed with Mikey on a lot of issues with it, but ultimately I do really like this movie a lot, and I think it takes some liberties. It's doing some unique things, and overall, it's just a lot of fun. Like just as a straight up slasher, Michael going around killing people, it delivers. But yeah, let's jump right into it. And you mentioned how excited you were for this. So like, what how excited were you, and what were some things I guess you might have been anticipating in a sequel to the 2018 Halloween movie?
Yeah. So the first one I did not care for. The first of these movies, I just didn't care for. I was very excited for it. I love Danny McBride. I love David Gordon Green. They wrote the screenplay. David Gordon Green directed. So I was just very excited for it. For that reason. So when I saw the first one, I was disappointed, and we've talked about this a lot. I didn't love the first one because like I thought it paid too much homage to the original. I mean, bringing back John Carpenter to do the score, why not? I mean, what cooler way to revive a franchise than to bring back the director and composer of the first one?
Oh
But
yeah,
the first one to me, the whole movie just played out like and I don't remember the original that well, but the one that came out in 2018 reminded me too much of just like a shot for shot remake. Like we're doing this exactly the same. I mean, the kills, the zoom ins, the Michael Myers looking through the windows, the babysitter, and the music. That was the scene in the first one where I was like, this is too
yeah,
much like
because
this.
I've often heard that like a comparison. People are like, this is almost like the Force Awakens for Halloween, where like you're right, it almost is linked too closely to the original. I like the 2018 one quite a bit as well, and I think, and obviously this one I feel like Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are very different. Like they do very different things, but
It-
for the most part, I still thought it was scary enough for what it was, and I don't know. There's some moments in it that are kind of weird, or like there's these kind of questionable like character moments. I know at one point, the doctor in it who becomes crazy. The first time Laurie meets him, Jamie Lee Curtis, she just goes, "Oh, you're the new Loomis," and like it just seems so like such like a line like almost like a fan would write or something like a diehard fan would write. So there's like little moments like that are kind of weird, but I liked it enough, and I think obviously it set itself up really well for a sequel. So
You're talking about the 2018.
yeah, yep,
Yeah, so for me, like the end of the 2018, Lori, Jimmy Lee Curtis, is a hermit and just lives out on her own in this house. And Judy Greer is her daughter. And then you have Andy Matichak, who plays the granddaughter. And the two of them get Jamie Lee Curtis out of her house. They go to town, they find Michael, they bait him back to Jamie Lee Curtis's house, which you find out she's always just trapped the house for Michael's arrival. They trap him in the basement, they burn the house down, and that's how the movie ends. And I just remember not being that crazy about it. And then the first time the teaser for the second one came out, it's three women in the back of a truck. They're bleeding. Jamie Lee Curtis has been stabbed in the stomach by Michael Myers. and they're like, oh, we got him, the house is burning down, he's trapped in this cell that Jamie Lee Curtis put him in. And then you hear the fire trucks going in the opposite direction, and they're yelling, "Let him burn! Don't put out the fire, let him burn!" And for me, I was hooked. When I first saw the teaser for this new one, I was like, fuck yeah.
Oh yeah,
And then
all the trailers I thought were great for this movie.
the trailers were all POVs of the fire department just getting hacked by Michael Myers. And I was like, you know what? The first movie had like 3 or 4 deaths. It was a setup movie, I guess. I was like, this movie is called Halloween Kills. And even though it was a slaughter, this movie, he killed, I want to Google the amount of deaths in this. He killed everybody in this movie. I wanted, first off, we talked about this. I wanted this movie to open up immediately after the first one. I wanted to open up with them in the car, like in the trailer.
As did I too.
I wanted that to be it. But then, like, I don't know, Midsummer, I didn't need the first 45 minutes of Midsummer. I didn't need the first 30 minutes of this movie. Like, the way they segue into it, a lot of the first act of this movie is a lot of 1978 flashbacks and all of that with the original movie. And you have Thomas Mann and newer actors playing actors from the original.
Yeah, well, Thomas Mann plays a young Hawkins, who is the cop that gets his throat slit in the 2018 Halloween movie by the doctor, who wants to kill to actually trying to understand Michael and why he kills and if he gains any pleasure from it. But yeah, no, I agree because so like I said, overall, I did enjoy Halloween Kills. I have a huge, kind of love for the series, especially, the original is one of my favorite movies. John Carpenter was straight up one of the best directors ever. But I will say though, like, yeah, there's a certain momentum that is not killed, but is kind of off a little bit in the beginning of this movie. And I'll say something. I saw this movie twice. I liked it a lot more a second time. But, and I'll say this much too, like the flashbacks here I thought were handled really well. Like they're very tasteful. They look great too. They really do mimic the look of the first movie, the original 78 movie. But no, I agree because the first, I'm trying to think here. The first scene in the movie is technically present time because it's I forget his name in the movie, but Amy Madchak's boyfriend in the movie. So he's walking home after, and he was trying to call his friend who dies in the first movie, and then he sees Hawkins who's about to die, and he's asking him what happens, and then Hawkins talks about how he's not going to mess up this time, and that's when it cuts to the flashback in 78, which is unique because it kind of retro. Retcons a little bit. It tries to add some stuff to the original movie. So we learn that Hawkins, is like a young 20s police officer. He's
rookie.
He's like a rookie, yeah. And we got a couple flashbacks where it's him basically like learning about trying to stop Michael and realizing he kind of fucked up, and he had the chance. There was a good chance for Michael to actually die. So we'll get to that in a little bit because they really try to build up Hawkins in this movie a lot, like way more than I thought they would. But yeah, so we go from that scene then to the flashback, and then it cuts back to present day or 2018 Halloween night, where we're following a whole new group of characters, some of which are actually from the original too, and they're doing like a talent show, in Haddonfield, and then after all of that, then we finally get to the scene Mikey was talking about where all the 3 girls are driving away from the burned down house, and they're yelling at the fire trucks not to go there, not let it burn, let Michael die. And I agree. I kind of wish that was like the first shot, or even they could have kept the original first shot when it's the boyfriend and finding the cop, and maybe after that then cut to that, and then maybe weave in the flashbacks later. But I don't know. Like I said, I kind of grew, especially on that second viewing. I grew a lot to like the flashbacks and what it was trying to do as far as connecting these events a little bit more, and in showcasing that Haddonfield, the people of Haddonfield still have a kind of like shared trauma almost for Michael and what occurred in 78. But what else about this movie do you think were you looking forward to, or like kind of was just maybe in your case disappointed by? Or
Yeah, I mean, I don't need my handheld or anything, and obviously, I don't need this to be the tagline of the movie, but like, and I told you I wanted to watch the original Halloween and then the 2018 this one. I should have watched the original Halloween. I can't tell you when I saw the original Halloween. Probably when I was like 14. That might have been the last
oh really
time. And then I watched like H2O and all the other ones, things like the Rob Zombie ones and all that. So I think that what I would have liked was for them to just be like, Halloween kills. Make sure you go back and watch the original before you watch this movie. You're not going to dig that much of it. There was just so many flashbacks, and like, I'm being hyperbolic here, but just a lot of this movie played out with like, do you remember in the original Halloween, there was the boy riding the bike and he hiccuped? Well, in this movie, we're going to show you that he drank soda pop right before getting on his bicycle, and that's why he had the hiccups. And it's just like, I guess it solved a lot of things it didn't need to solve. And I mean, this could be a question for you, and this is also a question for, I mean, like, Halloween nerds. Like, I just wonder, like, did this do a lot of justice where you were like, I wanted to see why Hawkins didn't do this, or like, I wanted to see why, like, did it need all of this background?
I mean, I would say yes and no. I'll say one thing about interesting about this movie. I almost feel like its biggest strengths are also its biggest flaws. Because, for instance, I love how they brought back actual actors from the first movies. For instance, one of the babysitters that dies in the or the babysitter, I forget her friend, Laurie's friend in that movie who dies, but the little girl she's watching and ends up running out of the house at the end. She's in this movie as a grown adult, and then they obviously bring back the nurse or the doctor who's with Loomis in the beginning. She gets attacked by Michael and survives. She's in this, so I
Does she
like that.
survive the whole movie? I think she does, right?
No, she dies in this movie.
When does she die?
She dies in the car. When he in the scene with the girl. Yeah, she dies in the car. She's with like the four other people. She's with like the little girl who's now an adult. She's with the couple that dressed up as a.
She runs out under the bridge, though.
No. That's the little girl in the first movie. I'm talking about the doctor.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that almost made me want to shut off the movie. That when the doctor dressed up like the nurse, she's like walking towards Michael in the car, shooting, not hitting anywhere near Michael, and then he kicks the door open like he's a fucking Jason Statham character. And as she's shooting, and the door hits the gun, and she turns it and shoots herself and kills herself.
Okay,
Like,
it's amazing. Like to me, that was one of the best kills in the entire movie.
what?
Yeah,
Like, you did say that it's good that we differ on this movie.
you're right.
I think like a lot of this movie felt like, if like, and I'm sure this does exist as a video game, a lot of this movie to me felt like uh Halloween Mortal Kombat or Halloween Street Fighter, where like 1998 Sega, you could get like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger with a cheat code in Street Fighter. That's what this movie felt like to me. Cause like, I guess I don't know enough about Michael. So like, I didn't know that he uses every and any tool to kill people. I thought he was one of those just I use the same knife and I kill everybody with it. So like, I liked all the different, I liked all the tools that he used in this movie, but a lot of it was just a lot of like fight scenes with like axes and plywood and a lot of like ching ching, like a lot of just a lot of scenes like that, and her turning the gun and getting killed that way. And like,
well, I'll say as much. The first time I saw it on Friday, the theater was packed. That scene got the biggest reaction. Like that scene, everyone was like, "Oh!" Like it was just like it was crazy.
The doctor dying.
Yeah, when the gun shot. Yeah, she shot herself in the face because he.
I mean, everybody's in the car. The woman in like, okay, we're gonna get to everything, but what I liked about this movie is it does a lot about mental health, and it does a lot about fear, and it does a lot about mass hysteria.
Yes,
I loved all of that about the movies, and there's a lot about adrenaline and how you're not in the right mindset when you do this or you do that, and I like that. And some of it made sense. Some might have been a stretch and was a little unrealistic, but who knows? Who knows? But like, that was some of it. Like, most of the second half of the movie, people do a lot of dumb stuff, and you can justify it they're just in such mass enrage. They're so enraged they don't know what they're doing. Like, as Robin Williams says, you only have enough blood to run your brain or your penis, but not both at the same time.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what Robin Williams says. So I think that in this movie, it's similar. It's only similar in the way of like, these people are not thinking with their minds. They're thinking with like, I'm just going to go out there and kill Michael once and for all and save Haddonfield. And they do so many dumb dumb things in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that being said, the first half of the movie doesn't make sense to me, how the deaths are. You know, the people from the karaoke night are all in the car trying to kill Michael, and the one woman with the gun shoots out all of the windows, so Michael just reaches in and grabs them. And then as that's happening, the guy in the back can't get out because he's locked in the back with the child safety locks and all of that. And it's just like,
No, I will say that when I said earlier how this movie's biggest strengths are also its flaws, that's kind of a scene I'm talking about. That scene was fun, but it exemplified just how like dumb everyone was, because first off, so the nurse is with them, and so two of those characters in the car were in the original movie. They both had interaction with Michael. They know how dangerous he is. And I'm like, why are they driving off with these two random people they just met? Like, I would not go if this were the case, I would not be going anywhere unless everyone had a gun and I'm with like 15 people at least. You know, like I would not take that shit lightly. And I feel like those characters in particular would take note to that. And also like, you're right. You mentioned earlier how you're like, hey, remember that kid that like sneezed in the first movie? Well, now he's grown up and now they as much as I like the fact that they tried to tie in other people, because again, to give that collective trauma more weight, I do think it's kind of funny that they kind of hold your hand in a lot of scenes, like even when they're talking at the talent show in the beginning or whatever, or at the bar, they, you know, Tommy Doyle, played by Anthony Michael Hall, he's one of the kids in the movie who, you know, like he was a kid during the original movie. He wasn't actually in the original movie, but again, that's when they retcon it all. And there's one point where he's like, hey, with us today at the bar we have, you know, we have the, I forget their names. He's like, but we have this girl, and you know, she had interaction with Michael, and we have the nurse, and she had interaction with Michael, and they even show like footage from the first movie, and to me that was like way too much hand holding. I feel
it's either hold our hand all the way through or don't hold it at all.
Yeah.
Don't like hold it and let go, hold it, let go. There was a lot of that throughout this movie where it's just like,
well, yeah, and like, because it's like, I feel like just by name associate alone or something, like we would have understood like, oh, okay, this is the girl from the first movie, but they have to so hard be like, they have to really showcase. And to me, like that was an instance of like, all right, you're kind of maybe leaning too much on trying to bring in the more nostalgic aspects of it by like saying, oh, we have this old character, we have this old character, and even Brackett, the cop, he's in this movie. He was in the first movie. His daughter gets killed in the first movie, and granted, he has some great moments too. But like I said, great strength. They brought back these characters to showcase how they've been affected. But the con of it all is, I feel like they're kind of underutilized, and they die and they kind of die in ways that don't. It doesn't seem like a way they would die. Like the nurse, she ends up dying in the car. And I'm almost like, really? I'm like, you alone know how dangerous Michael is.
No, the nurse is the doctor and the doctor is the nurse.
No, I'm talking about the actual nurse. The actual nurse. The old woman in the car. She's an actual nurse.
Oh, she's a nurse too? Okay.
Yeah.
Because the guy in the back was a nurse too.
Yes. Yeah, because they like switch roles so they switch roles for their costumes or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that old woman that was with him, she was an actual nurse that worked with Loomis in the first movie. And you know, she dies, and you know, it's cool. I'm sure it was like an honor for them to die at the hands of Michael in one of these movies, but like, I don't know, just the way they went out was just kind of unique to me. And
the movie was not well done, so I'm not saying this in terms of filming and editing and all of that. It's a well done movie, but it just reminded me of like watching a YouTube review where it's like, you know, I saw the new movie, which reminded me of the classics, and then like, as the character is talking, it's like a flashback to the older movies as he's talking about the new ones, and it just felt like a lot of that to me, where it was just like, it seemed like it was like it was like an award show throughout the movie. It was like, do you remember Sarah? Sarah was in the first movie. Come on down. As she's walking up to get her award, it's like a montage of like, you know, all of the things she did. It just, I mean, the deaths were just so dumb in the beginning, and I hated Anthony Michael Hall's character in this. I was so excited. I mean, he's so cool, man. He's been around forever, and his character, once again, like, he was very adrenaline. He wanted to save Lori. He wanted to be the hero, and I get that, and I respect that. But his character from the beginning, I hated him. He was just like, and you said this before. You said this before, is that like, they knew in the older movies, in the originals, that Michael was an immortal person, that he was stronger than any human, that he bounced back. They even talk about in flashbacks in the original Halloween, that he was shot in the chest 2 or 3 times and just kept walking. But this whole entire movie, they treat it like every other horror movie where they're just like, let me see. Oh, Michael's here. Ugh. Okay, I got him. Now let's run away slowly.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
And like,
there's too many moments like that. You're right. Where like they have the moment to do something, and that I think it's what unfortunately when like sort of lackluster writing kind of rears its head when you're like they're just writing this like they're making the character implicitly dumb in this moment just so Michael can kill him and continue to kill. When it's like you're right, when there's a lot of characters, not every character, but there's certain characters, like I said, like the nurse, who should have known better. Like you're almost like you know how powerful he is. And again, I'll cut it credit because like Anthony Michael Hall is Tommy Doyle and Lonnie and all these other kids who were kids at the time of the original. You know, they went 40 years and never saw Michael again because Michael was locked up all that time. So Michael became more of a myth than anything. So it's not like they had like firsthand knowledge, I guess, of like how dangerous or like how like that he was kind of this like immortal being. But but I agree, there are like those little character moments that do kind of stick out, and you're like, okay, like you guys should tie him up or like cut his hands off or do something because
cut his hands off, cut his head off, take his eyes out. I mean, they know that he's this immortal creature, and then like Judy Greer stabs him in the back with a pitchfork, and then is like, "I'm gonna take your mask off," which is his weakness, is being exposed. But I'm sorry, like if you're gonna stab him in the back with a pitchfork, keep stabbing him, and then once he's dead, take his mask off. And it's don't pull the Scooby Doo move of like, "We got you on the ground, let's find out who you are and bring you to the police station." Like, no, this is
right.
Michael Myers. He's not just going to go in the back of your car and let you citizens arrest him to the police station. And there was just, I mean, we'll get to the end of this movie, but I hated the end of this movie. Hated it.
Yeah, you have a lot of hate in your heart in this episode. Because like here's the thing,
I got so worked up for this movie for years. I did for the first one too.
I did too. This was definitely one of my more anticipated for the year. But I will say like let's go back to Tommy Doyle, Anthony Michael Hall, because I don't know, I liked him enough. I do agree, like I think this was obviously intentional. He was very bullheaded. You know, like even the first scene of him, he kind of like gives a little speech at the talent show talking about Haddonfield, talking about Michael, talking about the victims and how they got to stand together. And then throughout the movie, once they finally find out that, okay, Michael is in Haddonfield killing again, he kind of takes up the mantle of being this sort of the leader, almost like the ringleader of the town in a sense. And I don't know, he was definitely a little over the top in this movie, as he is in a lot of movies, and I like that person. I think he was having fun with it. He took up this role where he was almost allowing his own ideas of how Michael should die to take over, and you know, this even leads to an innocent person dying, because obviously there's a scene when they go out of the bar, the nurse or the doctor, she thinks that Michael's in his car, and it ends up being another escapee from the mental asylum, but he's innocent, you know, so they end up chasing him for like pretty much like half the movie. They're kind of more or less chasing him.
And that's another problem. That guy was like the size of Danny DeVito, and they know that Michael towers over everybody in
That's
town.
another good point. And
they were just like, that's gotta be him. Let's get him. And you know, that's what I liked about the mental health part, is Judy Greer tried to protect him and tried to fight off the mob, and they were too gung-ho and too testosterone filled and all of that to take him down, that they just thought anybody was Michael. And it's just they changed, just the whole mob mentality part of it. I texted Tom a few things. I'm gonna read you what I texted Tom before he saw it. I said, I'm gonna give you my non-spoiler reviews, and we'll talk about this first part. Big John, Little John, best part of the movie. Why does the boyfriend's dad drive like that? First of all, the boyfriend and his dad, their deaths were stupid too. But the dad, as he's driving to the house with Laurie's granddaughter, he's just like, you could just tell that he didn't know. I just knocked my headphones out. I got so much into that. It felt like you were watching like Kings of Queens with the very obvious green screen, and they're just like driving a car, and they're like,
we're going. Yeah,
I'm going to the rest of that scene. Is so dumb. And then I said the movie should have been called Halloween Kills I'm Getting Too Old for This Shit. That's what the whole movie felt like to me. Is just like, evil dies tonight. We're gonna take him down. I'm getting too old for this shit in Haddonfield. I don't want to deal with Michael anymore in Haddonfield. We're just a quiet little podunk town. We're gonna take him down tonight. And the whole like, and I'm sorry, like I get it. I get they've been through all of this horror for 40 years. But like, I'm sorry, if I were part of this horror of 40 years of a masked man who nobody could kill, even after 40 years, I would have one, moved away from the town. It can't be that nice. Or
Right.
two, I would have been like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna join the mob. Like, I'll call in the SWAT. I'll call in the FBI. I'll go buy a grenade. We talked about this. There's a scene in the TV show Gotham where I think it's Mr. Freeze is just killing everybody in Gotham. Nobody can stop him. And then one of the people, it's a honk from Barry, his character in Gotham, who kind of works a little bit with Bruce Wayne, buys a rocket launcher and it just blows up Mr. Freeze and just turns around. It's like, that should do it. Like, why would that not happen
Well,
in Halloween?
I'll say one thing, an interesting point you brought up about like the SWAT or the FBI or obviously institutions that are higher than the police. This still takes place. All the main events still take place the same night. So obviously, like they don't even know. Most of the characters, even the police, don't even know the scope of who's died yet. So like they still think this is in their purview. I mean, hell, there's actually even a scene where one of the cops is like, "Yeah, we're not equipped to deal with this." Like he like straight up's like, "Yeah, we can't deal with this."
What about when the whole fire department dies? You don't think that they would have called another fire department from the next town? I would have liked one line in the movie where they were like, "The SWAT is on the way," like that.
Yeah,
that
well,
line.
personally, I mean, I'm sure in real life, do you think that if this happened, if you learned like in your town, one person killed like an entire fire department, I think the FBI and SWAT would probably show up. Like the fucking army would probably show up if that happened. Like
Yes.
that'd be like a fucking national thing, like right there. But
Yes.
but I will say, like obviously, like I said, it all takes place the same night, and I think you even you've agreed to an extent that the kind of chaotic nature of the mob story was cool because it showed that everyone's collective trauma, even though they were all on the same team, their anger in a sense made them lose track of what they weren't using all their logic. They weren't using all their common sense to really take down Michael. And because of this too, the cops also had to deal with the crowd. So they weren't even like fully dealing with Michael. They had to also deal with the mob, which I will say that another flaw I had with the movie. I kind of wish there was more of a dynamic, more of a clash between the police department and the mob, because I think there's times when they cut back to the police and the police are like, look, like we're trying our best and whatever. And then you have the main sheriff guy who's also in the first movie, and like they try to like include him more, but not enough. I feel like not enough to make a big difference. I wanted more of him. I wanted this idea that maybe the police, again, were dealing way too much with the mob, and that's why Michael is still out there continuing. But like they didn't really drive that home like 100%. Like I kind of wish they did. But like I said, I still really liked most of the mob stuff, and I think it's a very unique angle to take for a franchise like this.
This is why I shouldn't nerd out about things, and this isn't like deep nerdy knowledge. I always make this point. I read 3 or 4 Harry Potters. I don't remember them. I read the first one because the world did. I read the next 3 because it got me a lot of points in my English class, right? So for me, when I saw the movies, I didn't remember the book. So I walked out of the movies and I was like, cool, that was fun. I liked it. And people were like, his cloak was brown in the movie and it was turquoise in the book. I hated how not true. And it's like, the fucking dragons, man. It was a cool movie. So maybe I shouldn't nerd out about things so much because, so basically, they're doing a 3rd and final Halloween movie, which comes out October 14th of next year.
Halloween Ends.
Less than a year. It's called Halloween Ends. Jamie Lee Curtis has said that it'll probably be her last movie in the Halloween franchise. She said, that's not like because I die. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. She said, but this is kind of me putting the franchise to rest. And this movie, from what I've heard, was going to be a drama, more of a slow-paced kind of recovery and coping movie. So what I would have liked at the end of this movie was Michael dying for good, just dead. And I would have loved a 3rd movie just called like not Halloween Ends, but like Halloween the Aftermath. I would have loved a final movie of just like, how does the town get back together?
Well,
and how do they...
I actually got to read something for you because I learned this right before we got on to record this. And I'm going to try to read it right now. So this all, I guess, was He was David Gordon Green, the director. He was interviewed recently, and I'll read this. This is actually just right off Wikipedia, but it is linked, so there's all links.
They also already finished the post production too, so
which is crazy.
They filmed it already. They're in post production, which is really cool.
So I'll read this. Like I said, it's on Wikipedia, but there are links to it, so it's not just random. It says, in July 2019, the film was announced alongside a direct sequel titled Halloween Ends. It says, while originally developed to be set on the same night as Halloween and Halloween Kills, the film has been announced as taking place at least 4 years later in 2022 and will address the COVID-19 pandemic. And then it says, Green described Ends as a coming-of-age story and a more intimate movie where some of the characters have processed the insanity of the circus of the massacre of 2018. And not only that, but they've also processed the world as it's spun into so wildly in the last 4 years. So that's a real quote from David Gordon Green. So apparently it will take place like 4 years later, which I'm not against by any means. I personally, I thought that Halloween Ends was almost going to be, again, like this movie, like it was going to take place immediately after the events of Halloween Kills. And then I was even imagining the end of Halloween Ends being like the sun rising or something, like a new dawn, a new days upon. But apparently that's the way Green described it, a more intimate piece. It is going to be 4 years later. I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it is very unique, very unique.
I like when a TV show I'm watching like incorporates COVID into it and they're wearing masks. It's also, think about when you're filming a show, you know, these actors want to wear masks on set too. So it's like put them in sets, but like at the same time, and I'm a very cautious person about COVID and the whole world right now, but like I watch TV to escape. I don't watch The Great Gatsby. I don't watch a lot of like war things. I want to watch stuff that is like, not necessarily, but I want to watch dragons and I want to watch Spider-Man. Like I go to the movies to escape, to see stuff that is like far out of the norm. I go to the movies to really like dive into a different world and universe and all of that shit. So like sometimes I watch things and they address COVID in it and I'm just like, damn, I wish they wouldn't address that. Cause like in 40 years, that's going to be so weird to watch like that. But at the same time, like not everything needs to address it in TV and movies.
No,
so it's hard for me to picture like a 2022 Halloween movie where they're just like wearing masks and they're just like, hey, I heard Michael's gone for good. Like,
yeah,
like it just like that. Yeah. I didn't know if that's what that was about. I guess I wanted Michael to die at the end of this, or I wanted Michael to die. And then in the last credits, you see like, you know, his eye open, which is a stereotypical horror ending. I'm glad they didn't do that. But are we ready to talk about the end of this movie?
Yeah, we can get into it.
The end of this movie, Laurie and I guess the end of this movie, Judy Greer stabs Michael in like the back. She's like, let me take a swing at him. And they're like, go for it. And she stabs Michael and is like, now you're dead. And then she turns around and is like, and then she's like, I'm going to keep doing this. And Anthony Michael Hall's character is like, go home and get some rest. We'll take care of him from here. And then she's like, good night, boys.
Go back to your daughter because her daughter had just been attacked by Michael. So he's like, go back. He's like, yeah, go comfort your daughter. You know,
was that the pitchfork? Was that right after the pitchfork scene?
Yeah. So
okay. So yep. So
but before that, you got to mention that this scene was pretty cool. So you know, Judy Greer, she stabs Michael with the pitchfork before he's about to kill her daughter. She takes the mask and she's like, come and get it. And it's all a trap. She runs, Michael follows her, and then she brings Michael into a crowd of people. So now Michael's surrounded by, at this point, there had to have been like 30, 40 people. There was a lot of people around him.
And that was kind of like I don't even think I've seen Rambo. That was also like the Rambo kind of like, he's like surveying the enemies that he has. And then he's just like, let's do this. And I guess I expected, what did we talk about the other day? There was a movie that ended with like a Breaking Benjamin song.
Oh, well, that was Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn, yeah. Like, yeah. I guess I expected that at the end of this movie for it to be like, click, click, boom.
Oh, yeah.
To have like Michael Myers with like plywood, just like, oh my God, I'm getting way too much in this episode.
Wake me up
Michael
inside.
Myers with like plywood fighting off everybody. Like, that would have been cool if that's how the movie ended, like with the fight. But basically, at the end of the movie, they all kick Michael and knock him while he's down and hit him with plywood. And then they're like, now we've got him. And then it cuts back to like Laurie in the hospital. And then it cuts back again to the crowd of 40-ish people. And Michael just gets up and kills all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Which, again, I will say, this scene, I'm conflicted on it. I love it, but I also hate it for that reason, too, where it's like, it's so fast. Like,
They
again,
didn't tackle him? Like
let's ju-
5 of them didn't tackle him?
well, that's what I'm saying. So let's just say this for one thing. Let's say
Nobody ran away?
let's
I
say
would have
that-
ran away.
all right, let me talk. Let's just say this. Let's just say this. Let's just say there's 20 people there. And right off the bat, when they start hurting him, like they're all getting good shots of him. He gets shot 3 times in the chest. Somebody hits him with a piece of wood. Somebody hits him with a baseball bat. Somebody hits him with like everyone gets a hit on him, and like they're beating him on the ground. And he's stabbed in the back, and he had the pitchfork in his back. So he got fucked up, right? Michael got fucked up. So yeah, I agree. Like right after that, it's almost like like literally a complete 180 where he gets back up, and then it's just like slash 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 slash. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. And like he kills all those people. But I do like it because the way it was shot. I'll say this much. On like a filmic level, on like a real filmmaking level, all the shots at that point, you literally just see Michael in frame, the person he's killing. The background's all black, and then you see the light from the car that's there shining the spotlight on him, and it almost looks like everyone's being killed, like not even in like on Earth. It seems like they're in this just like shadow realm or something, and they're all being killed, which I thought was pretty fucking cool. And I guess it was a quick way to just show like, yo, you can't just you can't just rush on Michael and fucking kill him. Like he really is this like fucking this immortal beast of a whatever he is. He's obviously more than just a human. So but I do get what you're saying though, because yeah, at one point you're like, all right, like how can this many people effectively not keep him down? Like hell, even how did someone not just run over him like with their car and just keep the car on top of him? Like even
Back it up.
yeah,
Back it over, back it up.
yeah, I agree. Because again, like we know at this point how dangerous he is. How are we not doing this?
There's no teamwork. He got up and started killing them. There's no teamwork. No, hey, you grab him. Let's tabletop him. You take out his legs, pin him down, hold his arms back. There's none of that. He just got up and killed everybody. And I guess what I liked about this movie, and like I said, I don't know a ton about the whole Halloween history, is I like how they did the flashback of him walking by the little boy and not killing him. And the boy like blacks out and wakes up and tells the cops he's on Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I like that, and I guess what I liked about this movie is Michael. This Halloween Kills. I'm getting too old for this shit. Was like what I think the whole town was thinking, and Michael was thinking. He just killed everybody in this. Like I don't know if the original movies he would have just killed firefighters and everybody, but he killed everybody in this. One of the first deaths is Lenny Clark, a very famous Boston comedian. Him and his wife Chandra. They both get killed, like the opening scene. And I told you what I liked about it is like him and his wife are playing with the drone and then they lose it and Michael throws it back in the house. Like I like when newer movies like this address newer things. Like you watch the original Halloween, drones didn't exist. And now you're watching the new ones and they're incorporating newer things. So I like that a lot. But I think, so what I was going to say is, you can just tell Michael doesn't care. He kills everybody in his way. He used the most fucked up weapons. He kills Lenny Clark's character. Well, he stabs Chandra with the light through the neck and then takes Lenny Clark's body and stabs him repeatedly with knives even after he's dead as she's watching and dying. And he doesn't go back to finish her off. He leaves her there with the light in her neck as she's breathing her last breaths, watching her husband get stabbed over and over again. And I was like, does Michael know? Does he know that she's going to die from that and that she's still alive and that he's making her watch this? Like, he seemed very diabolical in this movie.
Yeah, which I think he did, because I think he was more fucked up in this movie because, in a sense, I think he was trying to enact revenge because Laurie tried to burn him to death. So I think coming out of that, he was like, that's why, he right away he kills the entire police department because it's like, all right, like this is it, like this is fucking war now almost.
He never went to the hospital, did he? Like they were all at the hospital waiting for him to show up to kill Laurie.
No, he never. So the thing is, in this movie, after he gets out of Laurie's new house, even Lonnie, the boyfriend's father, he discusses at one point. They're looking at the map and they're like, look, everywhere he's gone, it's a straight line to his original house. So the whole movie, he's trying to make it back to his original house, which again I kind of like, because again how they tie that in with the flashbacks is unique. I guess one thing too about the flashbacks. There's one of my favorite shots in the movie, and it's a recreation of a shot in the original, but in the original movie, you have the POV shot of when Michael's a kid and he kills his sister, or as Scott Macarthur says in this movie, he stabbed her in the tits. And then he walks outside and the parent takes off the mask and you see the shot's pulling back from Michael as he's holding the knife, and the parents are just looking at him like, "What did you do?" And they recreate that shot when he walks out of the house, in the flashbacks, and the cops surround him, and the camera's pulling away, and you hear the original score playing. I got the chills. I love that shot so much.
And
Um,
I was gonna say, and Hawkins he's in bed next to Lori in the hospital, and she's saying this is my fault. He's saying this is my fault. He's saying when we originally captured Michael and they were gonna put a bullet in his head, I said no, there's a soul in there. He's just a kid. Now I realize he only has evil in his heart, and he said I could have had him killed back then, but I had him sent to the mental hospital. I would have loved to seen like an alternate universe time travel flashback where like what would have happened if that didn't happen, if they had shot Michael in the head and he got back up and he got back up and he got back up, would they have then known back then to tear him apart limb from limb? Would they have thrown him into a giant hole he couldn't have gotten out of? Like that would have saved a lot of things, but then they would have known even more about him if they tried it then. So I think like Michael still would have gone on to kill for another movie or two, but they would have known a lot more had that happened.
you're right.
That's what I would have been interested in. And you talked about the characters right here. So in the opening of the movie, they did the credits just like the original movie. I love when a credit will say like they always have like and Cloris Leachman as this person, but all the other
Yeah.
cast they just have their names. This I love how it's like Jamie Lee Curtis as Lori. This person is so I saw Michael McDonald in the beginning and I thought, all right, the singer's in this movie. Like, why not?
That's what I thought for a
Tom,
sec too.
was like, Tom's gonna have a field day with this, and then you realize that it's Michael McDonald from Mad TV, who has I wouldn't call him in this movie a cameo because he has quite a few
No.
great scenes,
Yeah.
but he is some of the best cameos in movies. He is the cameo in one of the Austin Powers movies when Mike Myers.
That's right.
Oh, Mike Myers. When Mike
Hey.
Myers is driving the steamroller, Michael McDonald is like hundreds of yards away going, no! And then he gets rolled over. I love his cameo in that. He has a good cameo in Spy with Melissa McCarthy. He's he's like the tech person in that. But we're talking right now about the people above me. We have Michael McDonald, and then who's the other guy?
Scott MacArthur.
Scott MacArthur.
Who I was so giddy. Well, when I saw both these guys, but Scott MacArthur specifically because I've really grown to love him over time. He's popped up in a lot of cool stuff, specifically the Righteous Gemstones, which is also a Danny McBride show, and David Gordon Green has directed multiple episodes of that show and Vice Principals and Eastbound and Down. So like, it made sense that he was in this movie, but I kind of agree that their scenes are definitely some of the best in the movie for sure.
I wanted a whole spinoff because they move into Michael Myers' house. And that's like, I always am interested in the people who move into haunted places. Like, what is their backstory? Why did they move in? Are they scared? Are they interested? Do they not know much about it? But I know him from the mix. So I was telling Tom this before. If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, definitely go watch it. The season 2 finale just happened. I need to go back. I need to watch it. Anyway, Brett Goldstein, who was in Derek, Ricky Gervais' amazing show on Netflix, Emmy nominated, beautiful show. Brett Goldstein wrote for Ted Lasso, and he was in LA writing with the crew for it. And then he got on a plane, went back to England, and when he was there, he filmed himself doing 5 of the scenes and emailed it to the writers and was like, I see myself as this person. If you don't, then that's fine. I'll just, like never show up again for work. And he sent them the clips and they were like, you're the guy. And he's one of the main people in Ted Lasso. He's now Emmy nominated as an actor, and he was more of a writer before. Same thing happened with Scott MacArthur on The Mick. He wrote for The Mick, and then he was like, I see myself as Jimmy. The Mick is a 1 or 2 season show on Fox where Caitlin Olsen plays like a nanny to her nieces and her nephew, and it is like Caitlin Olsen at her finest. If you love her on Always Sunny and you want to see her as the main character, I mean, it's her and Scott MacArthur. It is piss your pants funny. So I love him. He's such a good character actor. And I've never seen Righteous Gemstones. I saw the first episode. I just picture him right along with Danny McBride. Like I picture them being so perfect together.
He's so good in the show. So funny and diabolical in that show. He's great.
So it was just so cool to see these two. I mean, Michael and Scott MacArthur was also in an episode of Mad TV back in the day. which is funny because he
Oh.
was probably on it when Michael McDonald was. So that part of the movie is very funny. Their deaths are very fucked up, and Michael Myers puts their bodies in the same way as one of their pictures. So in this movie, from what I know of the older Halloween movies, this seems like a very different Michael. This seems like a Michael who's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to leave signs behind that I've been here. I'm going to not just stab people. I'm going to make sure the whole town knows about,
Well,
me.
I'd say yeah, in a lot of ways,
Which
yes.
they do,
But even in the first movie, man, he sets up characters in certain ways. Like because there's a in the original there's a scene where Laurie crosses the street because she's not getting a response from her friends when she calls, and this is when she learns that her friends have died at the hands of Michael, and when she's going through the house, she's like, I remember this one scene when she opens a closet and the guy, one of the guys falls out and his hands fall out. And clearly, we saw a shot earlier of that guy dying, and that's not how he was, that's not how his body was left. So even the original Michael still stages the bodies in certain ways, which I think is both incredibly fucked up and creepy and also kind of hilarious too, that he literally saw that picture of them and was like, oh, and he's like, I'm going to set them up just like that, except they're dead now. Yeah.
Heartfelt. I think
so heartfelt.
But before I forget, so here's what I want the third Halloween movie to be. And we talked about being more of a drama, but Michael's still going to be in it. I don't think it's going to end with, oh, we finally killed him. Here's the aftermath. Maybe it'll be a two-parter, first half to kill him. But here's what I want the third one to be. And I guess I kind of wish they would have done this in this. In this movie, you slowly see Laurie in the hospital getting better. But here's what I want in the third one, especially if it takes place immediately after. Gets back to the hospital. The news gets back to the hospital that everybody else in town just died by Michael. And maybe Laurie is so heartbroken by it, or maybe she's just in pain from the stabbing. And here's what I want. Michael showing up to the hospital to kill Laurie. As he's about to kill her, she loses a bunch of blood and flatlines for a second. And as she flatlines, Michael also collapses. And you find out that the only way for Michael to die is for Laurie to die, because they're family, they're blood, they're one, they're connected. And then the whole entire movie is the dilemma of, do we kill Laurie to have Michael finally be put to rest, or to finally die? I think that would be an interesting third movie.
I agree, and I know it's interesting too. I got to bring it up. In the canon of these movies, I don't even think that Laurie and Michael are related, because so here's the thing: in the original Halloween, they never state that. Halloween 2, they do. They bring that up, but like I said, Halloween 2 isn't considered canon in these movies. However, I think that there obviously is there is a deeper connection between them either way, and even Michael's aware of that too. And I could still see something like that happening, where she flatlines or something, or something's happening, and he falls down a little bit, and then potentially realizing that she might have to die as well to kill or to end the evil.
Yeah, she looks at her daughter and granddaughter and is like, you have to let me go. That kind of thing. It's like the only way to save what's little left of this. Everybody in the town is dead.
I know.
Who's still alive at the end?
Yeah, Michael basically committed genocide in this movie, straight up.
Everybody died in this movie. That's what I liked about it. It's called Halloween Kills, and it's him killing everybody. Some of the deaths are very interesting too. It's scary. It's good. It's fucked up. The score is very reminiscent to the original. Some of the shots are the same to the original. I think where the first one, the 2018 one, paid too much homage, I think that this one was a good blend of hey, we're a new Halloween franchise, but also here's kind of what the score was like to the original. Here's a couple shots that remind you of the original. Here are the same credits as the original. It wasn't too much. It was a nice blend. It was nice, bigger than Easter eggs, but Easter eggs,
Yeah. No, I agree. And there's a lot in here. Hell, even the picture I have behind me are, the kids are wearing the masks, the shamrock masks from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which is totally just a little homage. It's not it actually ties into this movie, but there's a
deep cut.
Yeah, there's a lot of I feel like probably stuff I've missed from even other movies. I'm sure that McBride and Green are a fan of, but also to kind of go back quickly to the ending. Obviously, Kara and Judy Greer's character, she ends up dying because she thinks she's and the cool thing I like about it, there's all these parallels in the movie, in the original. The they mentioned this movie that Michael used to look out his sister's window all the time, and obviously Michael in the first one Michael kills his sister right near that window, and that's also where one of the cops dies in this movie in the flashback, and then similarly Judy Greer's character Karen dies looking out a window as well, and Michael comes up
Why
behind
is
her.
she there? Is that the same bedroom?
I don't know
Or
if
is that her bedroom?
that might be her bedroom, and I think
Okay.
so he went back to finish what he started, and that to me, I'm kind of glad. I will say I'm kind of glad in a way they killed her off because it's ballsy. Like I didn't think that she
Yeah.
would die. I thought I kind of thought her, Lori, and then her daughter would survive at least till Halloween ends. So the fact that they killed her
And
off was ballsy, but I think it was I don't know. I'm sure they'll address it. It'll probably make a lot more sense in Halloween ends, but I feel like it was like it happened like a little too fast.
I picture the three women like leaving Haddonfield forever, and that's like the end. But the sunset is them leaving Haddonfield, something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they killed her, and I mean, do you feel like they completed their idea of reflection? Because the whole first half of the movie, there's so many reflection shots, and Laurie is like, Michael used to look at his reflection. Like he might not have been looking out the window at, like they said, he was looking out at Haddonfield and how small of a town it was, but like then in the movie she's like, Michael has been looking at his own reflection, do you think maybe he's looking inwards? And then the second half of the movie she's like, no, fuck it, he's definitely not. Like he's clearly just out there to kill everybody, not even in his way, just everybody. But I feel like the movie had so much to do with reflection, but did it ever like dig any deeper? Or is
Maybe
that set up to the third one where it's just a drama of them looking inwards?
perhaps because I do think like well for one thing we mentioned earlier about the mob stuff and how like there's even a line saying like this is what Michael would want. We're turning into monsters because of our collective fear, and yeah, I think there are parallels between that like and how every like you were saying like how there are just literal shots of reflections of Michael's face, and then how again like the collective trauma reflects that of Laurie's trauma and vice versa, and yeah, I mean I think maybe even more than the first one there's a lot like they dig a little deeper into that, and for all the flaws like people I know a lot of people even pointed out the fact that it was disappointing that Jamie Lee Curtis was not in this a whole lot, like she was in the hospital the whole time, but I still think her scenes had a lot of weight to them. They were still some of my favorite scenes of the movie, because again she had that guilt to which Hawkins kind of was like, no, like I could have literally, you know I was the reason that Michael wasn't shot in the head and potentially taken care of, because Loomis straight up, I think in the entire series has had some of the best shots on Michael. Because in the first movie,
Who has?
Dr. Loomis from the first one, he straight up shoots Michael like 6 times in the chest, falls over, falls off the house, and that's where the first one ends. And then in this movie, it shows once they get him again, Loomis was about to just straight up blow his head off, and then Hawkins still having somewhat of a shred of empathy for him, saying like, well, there's still a chance he could be rehabilitated or whatever. That's the reason he stayed in a mental institution for another 40 years and continued to kill. So yeah, I don't know. It's one fascinating movie for sure. Like it was a lot different than I expected.
And then
Uh,
Loomis is the same one in the last Halloween movie that winds up saving him, right?
in what Halloween 2018?
Yeah.
No, no, because Loomis is he's not in any of these movies. Well, he's in the
Who-
flashback in this one, but
Who's the doctor in the last one that winds up helping Michael?
I forget his name, but he was
Okay.
like
different.
Loomis in an extent. Because the funny part is like in the original Loomis is almost like comic, like he's almost comedic relief in the first one in a sense. Like he's a little wacky and like even like he does things in the first one that are a little ballsy. But yeah, the doctor in the new one, like he full out goes crazy and ends up almost killing Hawkins and wants to learn more about Michael's process and all that. But yeah, I mean, you got anything else to say about this one, or do you think we should wrap it up here? Final
think I'm
words, maybe?
good. Yeah. I mean, it's a good cast. It's done. It's shot well. It's
It
done
is shot well for sure.
Yeah.
I forget the Michael Simmons, I think his name is. I'm trying to remember the actual. Yeah, I think it's Michael Simmons. He shot he has a very unique filmography. I think I'm trying to remember exactly what he shot because I think he shot Solo, the Star Wars movie. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I rented it and never saw it. I want to. It's got Donald Glover in it, so of course I want to.
Yeah, I actually like it quite a bit. Hold on, let me see. I gotta bring this up quickly. My bad, y'all. Michael Simmons, what is he shot?
You're thinking of Richard Simmons.
Oh, Richard Simmons. That's it.
Gene Simmons.
Okay, so no, it wasn't him who shot that movie, but obviously, also yeah, he worked on Vice Principals. He shot The Last Halloween, obviously. Oh, and Paranormal Activity 2. Yeah, so a lot of he has a very he's done a lot of horror, but also a lot of comedy too, which I guess in a certain way goes hand in hand. But
That's my dream. That's what I want to do. I mean, I think that's cool. David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, just spending like a year just watching all of the Halloween movies, being like, what do we want to pull? What's part of the franchise? What
yeah,
can we
and
forget? Like,
being these big fans of it and really constructing their own thing is cool. But
and you're never gonna get everybody on board. I mean, you're never gonna win everybody over, and that's how it is, you know. But I think it stayed true in a lot of ways. I don't
yeah,
know. What was for your closing words? What made you appreciate it so much more a second time? I noticed I watched it 1.5 times. I fell asleep last night, but like I noticed some things a second time that I didn't miss that I liked more. But what made you do the 180?
I would say, well, for one thing, having more of an affinity and love for the flashbacks. Because when I first saw the flashbacks, I almost felt like, they're going like, this just kind of feels like Stranger Things. Like they're just trying to do this just to kind of poke at your nostalgic, like, or to poke at nostalgia. But on a second viewing, I'm like, no, I'm like, there is a real love for the original. And I think they're doing this specifically, again, to really tie into how how that collective trauma really has impacted the community of Haddonfield. So I appreciated the flashbacks a lot more. I find a lot of just the general, like, again, on a filmmaking level, just a lot of the editing, like a lot of the cuts to characters or the music cues to be really on point and satisfying. The kills were brutal as hell, gory as hell. I loved them. There were
Violent.
there were random, the unexpected scenes like Big John, Little John, that were highlights of the movie. So yeah, music wise, and Michael being a total badass, and trying to really tie it into this more collective trauma like idea. To me, it really hit home. And even though it was a mess at times, and characters still made dumbass decisions, and there was a lot of questionable stuff, I still found myself really kind of loving it. I don't know. It's just such a weird movie. And even as a huge fan, I love Halloween so much. I love the original. I still like this quite a bit.
I think for closing words, we teased people, but we didn't tell them about what our so we're doing a couple more episodes this month. I think we're gonna try to get to the Sopranos movie. We're also gonna do Tom and I are each having each other watch another movie, and we'll be talking about those in the podcast. I went back and watched the original Wrong Turn for last week's episode. I love the new one so much. I thought I was gonna be too afraid to watch the original. But it wasn't the originals. I think it was the sequels that really did it for me, and the Hills of Eyes. The Hills of Eyes did it for me. So
The remake?
Yeah.
The remake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the remake is horrifying.
Very hard to watch, both of them. And I feel like I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch the movie that I'm having you watch again, but I'll never forget it, so I don't need to refresh my memory. Yeah. But let's talk about our big news. Is yes. 1 week from Wednesday, October 27th. We are having a big movie director come on to our podcast to do a kind of Q&A. So it's going to be more of like episode 14.5. Do you want to talk a little more about it?
Sure. So we have Mike P. Nelson, who, of course, is the writer-director of Wrong Turn, and the 2021 version. Yes, director and writer of Wrong Turn 2021. And I couldn't be any more excited because we literally, I got to really credit this to Mikey, because we were filming it. We were really getting into the movies, talking about them. And then you kind of, I think the day of, you just randomly were like, hey, why not try to contact him and see what's up? And then he was incredibly responsive, super into it, nice, really wanted to help us out with this. And yeah, I'm just so excited because I had a lot of fun watching that movie. And it's going to be really fun to pick his brain about the process and what he thought about kind of renewing this series for a new era almost. So
what I loved about the new Wrong Turn movie is it's not one of my favorite horror movies of the year. It is, but it's also one of my favorite movies of the year. I watched it twice in a weekend. I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times this year. For $44 on Amazon recently, I got all 8 Saw movies, Spiral, and the new Wrong Turn. And I still buy DVDs, but I buy them Blu-ray with digital copy, which means you can watch them on your phone, your laptop, your iPad, anywhere.
Yeah.
So for $44, I got 10 movies. Was it 10 movies? Which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Check out.
Can I tell you something too? I didn't even tell you.
Yeah.
Like a couple days ago. Well, I should be getting. It's probably like in my mailbox right now. But I bought Wrong Turn on Blu-ray because it's a great movie as well. One of my favorites of the year. But also because of you sent that text to me about the Saw Blu-ray. I ended up buying that 8 movie set or whatever.
Yeah.
Because literally it was like I think it was like $15 with tax for all those movies except for Spiral.
Yep.
Damn good deal.
Separate DVDs too. It wasn't one of those like one DVD is movie 1 through 4. It had like each DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I that's a series I'm excited to rewatch, and maybe one day we'll do a whole like retrospective on that whole
Yes.
series because they're unique for sure.
Have you seen Spiral yet?
No, have not
I'd be
seen Spiral
excited to
yet.
hear your thoughts. But yeah, so Mike P. Nelson, he directed and wrote The Domestics in 2018. Really twisted, kind of post-apocalyptic road trip movie. Wrote and directed that, and then directed this new Wrong Turn movie, which was also written by the original writer of the 2003 Wrong Turn. So he's coming on. We're going to ask him a bunch of questions about the movie, a bunch of questions about filmmaking, about the original Wrong Turn, about what projects he's working on next, advice he has. So that's going to be next week. We're super excited for that. And if you can, check out the Wrong Turn Blu-ray, DVD, V8, all of that, or the digital copy. Because I went back and I watched the movie with audio commentary. It's like a 2-hour movie. I watched it with audio commentary, and I learned so much. And he's just so passionate about it. And it was his first audio commentary, and I learned so much about it, which doesn't take away at all. But I learned so much about it, about like, that this tree was actually just made out of felt, and like we got him pulled on a chain by a golf cart, and like you get to learn all the background stuff and about the budget and the VFX, and like some of the actors in it are just local actors in Ohio that they pulled into the movie. It's super fucking exciting to watch the audio commentary. So that's our big news. Episode 14.5 will be our first big guest. And we definitely are going to have more writers, directors, actors, producers in the future on our episodes.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a big
yeah.
goal because obviously we have a love for all of this. So to be able to have someone like Mike come on, and anybody else in the future, it's going to be a real treat. And we're super excited to show you guys because like Mikey said, we have a lot of questions we're going to ask them. So stay tuned for that. Anything else, Mikey?
Check us out online, the WeiliotisPodcast.com or Weiliotis Podcast on some social media. We'll post some teasers for our next few episodes. If you want to come on our episode, let us know. If you're making a movie and you want to come on to promote that, let us know. If you just like a movie a lot, come on our podcast, talk about the movie. We're open to always watching new stuff or rewatching stuff or rewatching something we hated or something like that. But yeah, definitely check us out online and follow us there. Yeah, some big stuff coming up, and that's all I have.
So awesome, y'all. We appreciate y'all for listening. And until next time, have a good one.